Right,
What's your thought?
and let's talk about it. Let's open this up a bit more and break it down. I think the overall idea of these rules coming in will obviously have a positive effect. I mean, at least that's the idea, right? People are making these rules, people are changing these rules to improve the game, and that has to be the selling point at the end of the day when they're presenting, when they are,
Mhm.
having that uh, debate and probably like going ahead with these rules. But I am not a huge fan of how they are being introduced. I remember the first time VAR came in, people were excited. We were all excited. Like, what is this video referee? But it sort of felt like it was slowing the game down. It was, changing the momentum of the game, like for either of the team or maybe both, right? When you're playing a 90-minute high intensity game, this is not like cricket where you go to third umpire and the
Mhm.
guy comes in with some drinks and they're chatting and they're, I don't know, it's not the same format, right? It's very high intensity, which means it's very easy for you to lose the momentum, lose concentration. There can be a lapse there, and also like muscle problems and injuries, right? So you get cramps when you suddenly like stop, and if you have a game that is running in very high intensity for 70 minutes and suddenly there's a 5-minute break with all of this
Yeah, yeah.
refereeing shenanigans, and suddenly you stop, and the next time you make that run to stop the forward, you pull a muscle and you're done for 6 weeks, right? So there's so many things that can happen, and I just feel that those things have not been taken into consideration. And this is just my opinion. I think although this is for the greater good, I think they decided to go ahead with all of these changes for now as just as a as a guerrilla testing. So by guerrilla testing, I mean they want to go out
Yeah.
there, see what happens, and slowly change and improve these rules
So
over the last
this is
five
my
years.
question. Like every season, we are seeing one few changes. Like, do we need to change the sport every season? Like, this is what I think.
No,
Like,
but you have to understand why they're changing it, because they're getting it wrong. They are
but
getting
they
something wrong
and
every
it's
season, and that's why they need to change it up abruptly, uh, just to make sure that people don't call them out, because
but
these
it's
are
getting
huge.
worse. Like, fans are getting used to one set of rules, and the
Yeah,
handball
and I
rule
think
was there. Yeah,
and I
yeah.
think
So
one of the reasons why that is also happening is the lack of education. I know we were having this conversation where, so you and me, we've been watching the game for at least like 10 years or more, right? And we are used to how a football game plays out on the field, right? We know the rules, maybe not like the whole rule book, but we have a very fair idea of how things work. But what's happening now is very different, like in terms of officiating, at least. Like, okay, offside, onside, that's pretty easy for VAR to check. There's a straight line, and
yeah,
it's very
yeah.
obvious to
I've
you.
made
But
my peace. I've made my peace with offsides. I think that is perfectly fine. Even if you're a fraction ahead, it's offside. It's okay. You give that. But
but these other rules, which are very contextual, either to the rule itself that fans don't know, like people know that people know what a yellow card and a red card and a foul is, right? They know the definition in their head, but they don't know how the rules change situationally based on certain
Mhm.
circumstances, which can be a part of the rule book, and maybe it has been there for 50, 100, 200 years, but people don't know that because people don't care. And people obviously, I'm guessing, although the rule book is publicly available, nobody's going to read the Bible, right? uh, they already know how to live their lives, so they just make something out of it in their head. They have their mental model and they're okay with it. But since the change has been so drastic and radical right now, uh, people need to catch up to it. People need to get introduced to it. You might have seen some of these shows that Sky or some of these other TV brands do. It's where they hire an ex referee who
Mhm.
might be a familiar face, and they try to break it down and understand, hey, what's going on here? Why did this happen?
Yeah, so
And
even
I
the
think
pundits are not like so familiar with the
exactly.
rules.
I mean, they're called pundits, for Christ's sake, and even they don't know, right? So, and these are players who've been playing. Like you have Roy Keane, Jamie Carragher, Gary Neville. These are people who we
Yeah,
watch.
so even they don't bother about to see the rules and when it's part of their job. So you don't expect fans to, who go to their daily work and busy with work. just to open a random footballing rule page and read it
Yeah.
for.
And I think that's where these governing bodies like UEFA or FA, they have to take a call. Do they want to leave the fans in the dark and not care about them and keep doing what they're doing and keep just switching the rules, tweaking it till they get it right, and then come out and say, or they would want the fans to, they will give the fans an opportunity to catch up as well, like make the referees do some interviews, have these shows where
Yeah,
you
yeah.
introduce a referee and just talk about it. Because I think the reason why we are all confused and mad is because we don't know, and it's almost like uh, we don't trust the new rules. And one of the reasons why
Yeah,
we don't
yeah,
trust it is because
because we don't know it enough. Yeah,
people don't know, and we are so used to how it was maybe just two
yeah.
seasons ago or
That's
three seasons
that.
that
That's what I liked. Like what was before. Like people use common sense,
yep,
and slowly with VAR and how mechanical they're trying to make the rules. The idea of common sense is being lost. And football was always about common sense. It was not like cricket, like you said. Like you stop the game and analyze, oh, he's 1 centimeter. Oh, it's wide by a few centimeters. The ball is wide. It's no ball by like so. There are no boundaries in football, and you're trying to make boundaries in football, and I don't think it works. I think there needs to be some common sense which needs to be there. Like judging by today's red card, I don't like like a few years ago we used to say, oh, Isak, he's going, his run is angulated, it's not straight towards the goal,
uh,
so that's not a red card, and that made perfect sense to me. Like for, yeah, Isak would have gone towards the side, and yeah, the defenders would have. You expect the defenders to cover the local defenders to cover, get back in time, and that probably would have happened today. But today
right.
he was given a red card just because he's the last man by a few inches, and that doesn't make any common sense to me and feels so
Yeah,
mechanical.
yeah, and I think like the relationship between, at least the perceived relationship between the main official who's refereeing the match and the VAR is also like a bit eyebrow raising, because VAR is supposed to be, the golden eye, God's eye, like
Yeah,
in
yeah,
definition. When it first came out, it was like, this is going to change the game. I mean, change the game from a point of view is that uh, it's going to speak of just the truth and call the game on its head based on that, right? That is what people perceived it to be. But now it's a little different, where you have some decisions like offside calls where it has the technology to slow things down and actually give you what's going on and have the decision called that way. But there is also the situation where they want to believe, or they want to lean towards whatever the referee decided to do, and kind of maybe only stop them when they are, I don't know, like maybe when they are sliding towards a player or something, like, hey, you are not supposed to kick a player or something. And it seems like the only time that they'll stop them, because otherwise they
I
would want to lean towards them, which is also weird for the fans, because you're like, you are supposed to be, you're supposed to
the
be the
final
person,
decision maker, right?
and not just the final one. You're supposed to know the truth, and you're supposed
Yeah.
to communicate the truth to us, to slow mos, whatever, whatnot, and tell that guy on the field, hey, change your call or make the right call. But it kind of seems like it's there to make the referee look good, which is
Yeah.
weird. Then the whole purpose is lost, right?
So also one more thing I don't like about the Premier League is that uh, so this clear and I know if we had a talk show before, I think we would have discussed this. The clear and obvious error. Like what is the clear
Yeah.
and obvious error? So the referee is making an error, but until it's clear and like 100, it's a 90% error. Okay, so it's 90% error, we side with the referee. Unless it's 100% error, we are not siding with the ref. Like
How do you
we
judge
cannot
whether
rule
it's
turn.
90% or 100?
Yeah, how
It's
do you judge that? And so, what is this clear and obvious? Like, I never got. So it's such a vague term. What is clear and obvious?
yeah. There.
And this always, I think UEFA doesn't have this. So UEFA with their
Mhm.
video assistant refereeing, if they think logically or by the rules, there's something is wrong with the decision, they do overturn it. The Premier League doesn't. And last season, I think there was a lot of overturning of decisions. I think there was the maximum amount by quite a few margin compared to the season before. And that's why probably this time there's like saying, hey, we cannot make the referee look that bad every season. Like, okay, so let's like support him this season and side with him for most decisions. And yeah, once in a while we change the decision and it'll be a huge talk in the media. Oh, VAR did something so fantastic. They changed the decision and it was the right one. And they suddenly get back in the good books. And I don't know if they're trying to play that card. It's so confusing and so depressing as a fan that something which shouldn't be highlighted as so much. The referee should not be in the spotlight of the game. The player should be
Yeah.
is in the spotlight every game.
And I think like it's high time that they start doing some interviews of their own,
Yeah,
because they're already in the spotlight. They have made decisions in the match that has completely changed the whole final score. So, which means they are. I mean, it's not Salah or Haaland anymore. You need Mike Dean to come in and say, "Hey, why did you do
yeah,
that? We don't want to see Haaland or Salah because yeah, they're
yeah,
great
yeah.
players, but Mike Dean was the main man because he
Yeah,
was
yeah,
that call, right?
it's
So yeah,
just kind of been like that, and yeah, it's kind of depressing as a fan. You just lose the love for the sport if you like, and we all of a sudden, I don't know what's happening this season. We've seen red cards almost
and yellow cards as
every
well.
game, direct, yeah, yellow cards and direct red cards. So, and this probably will get fixed next season, and there'll be another set of rules. Okay, we made this huge error last season, so
Right.
and this constant up and down, and just make something very simple. I think for the fans.
And I think the problem is like they are making these very impactful rules, but they're not like looking at the ramifications to
Yeah.
these. A good example would be the yellow card is almost free now, right? You talked about the Trent moment where he just, with his
Mhm.
hands just threw the ball and got a yellow card. And if he gets 4 or 5, I'm not sure how many, he's going to get a ban or three
Yeah,
match ban, right? If
one
yellow
match ban.
cards are
Yeah.
for free, then make that 4 yellow cards 5 or 6, because every game you're getting 5 or 6 yellow cards, like every team, right? So which means the number of yellow cards is increasing. So why not change the penalty
Yeah,
clause as well? Like,
that will come next season probably because they'll
yeah, but
understand
but
what's
people are
wrong.
going to clubs are going to suffer this season. I mean, that's what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
trying to say. Like it's a half-ass stuff where
yeah. Yeah.
they made a big change, but they're not looked at the consequences.
It's always been like that with like we've seen that they don't look at the consequences and they're trying to introduce new rules every season and it's not like it's not a foolproof and it's these rules are not foolproof ever and there'll be new
Yep.
sets of rules. So when does it stop? I've never seen like in the last 4, 5, 6 years, I've never seen such so many rules change. When for like 15, 16 years, this sport had some constant rules.
Hmm. Another rule which was changed was the addition of additional extra time. So in the Manchester United match against Nottingham Forest, I think there were 11 minutes added on, and in the Arsenal match against Fulham, it was 9 minutes. And it was completely shocking. I mean, I did not see the Arsenal Fulham match because I was watching the United one, but I saw the United match, and there's no way that there was like 11 minutes added on. And I cannot imagine that these things are just being introduced just like that. Even like I'm not sure if it was there in the beginning of the season, but I've never seen an 11 minutes like time added on, at least like from
Yeah, you don't see it quite
Manchester.
often. Like whatever the times being added on this season, like 7 minutes, 8 minutes
And
on
it was
average every game.
and it was not one of those matches where somebody was stretched out or it didn't seem like it had so many pauses. And I think psychologically it affects a player, right? When something like that happens, you've already played 90 minutes,
So,
whether you're
so,
winning,
so
defending, or scoring.
I'm not very familiar why this is being added. Like, if you can explain, I don't know if you've gone through it.
So apparently the rule is for every time the clock pauses for whatever reason, maybe the ball went out, somebody got injured,
Hmm.
there's a goal celebration, that time gets added on, like
Hmm.
point second by second, and that turned
Okay,
out to be 11 minutes, I guess. So
but
that's the
you were
explanation.
saying like it didn't seem like a game where.
Yeah, because when you look at a match, there are starts and stops. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
somebody doesn't need to necessarily be injured in order to have that. Sometimes,
Mhm.
the ball goes out of the park. Sometimes somebody's Bruno is screaming at the referee. So these things happen, right? And there's a start or stop. But that 11 minutes just did not add up, and it was so shocking because, I mean, of course, like from a United point of view, we were winning 3-2, and we wanted to hold on to that. But think of like the
Arsenal.
people who are
The
Arsenal.
Arsenal
Okay,
game.
yeah. So Arsenal ended up on the other side where they practically like lost the match because of that. Uh, and they were also down 10 men, right? Well, were they down with
Fulham. Yeah,
10 men? There was a red card
Fulham
as
were
well.
down. Fulham.
Oh,
Fulham
Fulham
were
were.
down.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God. What is Arsenal doing? City is going to win again. 4 times in a row. Who would have thought? Thank you, Arsenal. And that was at Emirates as well. Where is he when you
Yeah.
need him? Tishmeister. Yeah, my God. But anyways, I think like adding 11 minutes, regardless of who's playing, is, I mean, it should be a very rare
Mhm.
like
Right.
situation. I mean, we saw it very frequently in the World Cup as well, right? Like 7 minutes, 8 minutes, 11 minutes, or whatever. And it kind of felt like it was
Is allowing a
introduced,
team to, yeah, like
changed everything. Yeah,
it's like a double-edged sword. So like it's allowing the other team to get raise in confidence. Oh, we have 10 minutes more. Just push her. Let's throw the kitchen sink at them. And for the other team who's winning, it's like, oh shit, we got 11 minutes more, and we're already so drained out.
yeah. I think
So
there's definitely a commercial factor to it where you want to set the stage up for the final, the final
yeah, yeah,
battle. It's almost like you won the war, but there's this big boss finale that comes in.
yeah,
It's like
right,
one of
right,
those video games where you beat the boss
yeah,
and you're like, this game is done. Oh, I'm gonna go have a snack and then something. You're like, the boss evolves into a mega boss, and you're like, oh, not again. It
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
feels like
yeah,
that.
yeah. It does. I think. Yeah, it's and you don't know, like you said, I didn't feel it was like an 11 minutes. What happened what happened in the game so much that there was an 11 minutes
To be
added
honest.
on time.
Mhm.
And even like today, I was thinking like, oh, Newcastle versus Newcastle, it might be a 7 minute stop, and it might be. I didn't know what was coming, so it was a 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So how did you decide what was five
Exactly.
minutes?
Even
There
I
was a
was
red
shocked it
card
was five
incident.
minutes, right?
So there was a
Even
red
I was
card
shocked.
incident in the game and everything, and there were so many yellow cards being dashed out. So it could have been a longer stop. Like who decided it was 5 minutes?
I think based on yesterday's results, like the United match and the Arsenal match, they probably just got rid of. They changed it instantly in that same week because they are going for trial and error. That's their formula for this whole thing. I mean, let's call it for what it is. They are rapidly changing things and they're rapidly trying to fix it as well, which will have a backlash to the players, to the fans. I mean, the fans are fine. The fans are always going to be the fans and they're going to watch it. But in actuality, who's going to finish top four? Who's going to win the
Yeah, yeah,
league? I think those are going to get called based on these really bizarre officiating and these rules. It's I don't know. Like back in the day when someone would get a red card, even if you have not seen the match or seen the replay based on who the player is. So every time Vidic got a red card against Liverpool, I know he was pulling on Torres' shirt or maybe kicking him or punching him or something like that. That is what red card meant. I mean,
yeah,
I
yeah.
grew up watching Roy Keane, so can't blame me. But now red card has a different definition. I mean, it is still red, but doesn't have the
Yeah,
same
it's
impact.
for
It's more like you broke the rules, so you're getting a red card. Go back in the dressing room, have a beer or a
early
cake.
bath. Yeah,
It's okay. You're not gonna get
yeah,
abused.
yeah, yeah. I know. So yeah, it seems very like mechanical, and even if it's mechanical, we don't know what the rules are.
Yep.
And I'm sure the referees are not very consistent with the rules also. So that makes
And
even a more
it's
problematic
all
one.
real time, right? I mean, we are can sit in the background and have everything blown up in the screens and watch replays. But the referee who's on the pitch, he's taking decisions real time. So regardless of how good he is, it's not humanly possible to remember every rule or do everything in the right
Yeah.
way. We need robots. We need cyborgs.
That's
The
where VAR
players.
is supposed
Yeah.
to come in, right? That's what we expected VAR to do, like, because VAR would have all the slow mos and everything, and they would have not one ref, they would have 4 or 5 refs sitting and watching the footage.
Yeah.
So
It would be interesting if the VAR was this third party, like almost like not a part of FA and they hired it. It would have been so cool because there'll be this conspiracy theory. There'll be
like
like a Elon
they
Musk or a Jeff Bezos
but
like a face to VAR.
they
The same.
are they claim to be this third party, right? So they say this is a
Aren't they like a part of
PGMOL.
FA?
No,
Yeah,
they're
but
PGMOL, right? They are separate from the FA. They Yeah, we know they are not, but
it's the same
they are.
referees who are like when you look at like the referees who are on the pitch, those are the same referees who like
Yeah, the same
yeah,
referees, but they are like of a different body. So
I don't know. Don't they wear the FA thing over here, like the badge or something?
I'm not
I I,
sure. I need to see.
I think they're getting. Do they get paid by the FA? I don't want to say something stupid and get caught, but I don't know. I gotta do my
But
homework. But
they do call themselves the PGMOL or some whatever the full form
whatever
is of
that
that.
means, I don't know, man. Like it looks very dubious the way they're handling this, and I'm just sad because I think a lot of teams are going to get affected based on this
Yeah,
practice, the way they're handling it, and that's not fair.
and
I mean, maybe 5 years
there
from
will
now
be
they'll solve it, but
complaints, and there
yeah,
will be
and
complaints. You'll see Klopp
they're
losing out on
apologizing.
one day.
Like it's week 3, they've already apologized like once or twice already, and I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know how. And also, like managers, like I mean, I'm glad Mourinho is not here anymore.
So
Imagine Mourinho in the Premier League.
one more thing, like you're saying, like aren't they part of the FA? They claim they are not part of the FA because uh, I think the VAR gave McAllister the red card and the FA rescinded it. So if the FA was part of it, they would have agreed to it and they would have given him the 3 match ban. So
I mean,
it's
not
all
necessarily. I think a review is still a review if the same people are doing the review. I mean, in a practical
but they
sense.
had that's what I'm saying. Like they had the chance to review with the VAR. So what changed after 2 3 days?
I
You
don't
could
know
have.
what the VAR does, honestly. I mean, like I said, maybe they're just saying, hey, ref, your shorts are down, pull your pants up, or something like that. Something that they, they just need to like tell him, which is like code red. Otherwise, they're like, yeah, you're fine. Like, get on with the game. Let's catch up after the game for a beer. Whatever. I don't know what they're talking about, man. It doesn't seem impactful.
Yeah, so I think with the Australian League or something has like those refs mic'd up in the VR room and the referees on
Mhm.
the pitch.
Didn't it
An
start that
Austrian
way?
League or
Oh
Austrian.
no, it
Yeah,
didn't probably.
no,
Did
no.
it
When
start
they
like that?
introduced, yeah, when they introduced VR, they mic'd up the refs and you could hear the
Yeah.
fans could hear what they're speaking about. So, but that won't ever happen with the English refs. They would like they would
Yeah,
get
I don't know.
their pants pulled down every minute if that happened.
Yeah. I mean, with the current rep that they have, they shouldn't get mic'd up. At least, like, the only thing they can do is
We
post-match
want them to.
interview.
We want them. Yeah, we
Yeah.
want
But
them
it's
to
a
get
different
mic'd up.
thing. Like, when you know, miking up is different. Like, live, like, instances, you don't want them, like,
So then
miking
we can
while.
understand the incompetence of the refs in that way. So
Yeah,
how
they'll have a target on their back every day. I don't think that's gonna, like, they will shit their pants in that small, dingy, dark VR room. You don't want that. Have them after the match, invite them over
yeah
for
that
like
yeah
give them a man of the match trophy for calling a red card and changing the game. And it's like, Mike Dean, well done. You're the man of the match. Tell us why you did that. You whatever. So yeah, do one of those.
right. Yeah, they should give a post match. Oh no, on serious notes, like I think the referee who makes a red card or any like very a serious call on the game should be asked to come down and explain, like just like players are who if they score a wonderful goal or whatever.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, the I agree, completely agree with your thoughts there. Like they should just give a post-match interview and explain to the fans how like why I made this call. And I'm sure they cannot do that. And that's the most important thing. They cannot do that because they are not clear themselves.
I think there are also rules in place at the moment where they can't just turn up after a match giving interviews, and I think those rules are they're not updated based on today's standards. Like
Yeah,
now, in today's data, interview is just an interview, and they have a lot of commercial side to it. But
right.
also, like an interview is also giving you, and it's almost like letting you be a fly on the wall, like the Amazon, like the series, right? Where with
Yeah,
Arsenal, with City, where with Spurs, they're creating footage of what happens when you don't see them on the pitch, right? So you're almost like a fly on the wall, like looking at those things. So that kind of a vision, that kind of a circumstance needs to also be there from a officiating point of view, because people are confused, and uh, I just feel like those rules are not updated. They are still not allowed to go out there and speak publicly about why they made a certain decision. And I'm not sure if they would want to change that right now, because they think if these guys go live and say they are probably going to get harassed,
yeah, yeah.
ridiculed, which is like I cannot say that's not true. People are really mad right now, but I also feel like somebody has to take the first step. Uh, Otherwise, it's gonna go from bad to worse.
Yeah, I think we need like and these they what they do is like they explain the decisions with text. Like after the game, they just put out, oh, this is that decision because this happened. These are the rules, and this is why it happened. But it doesn't always correlate with the situation somehow, I feel.
Yeah,
And that's how the referee needs to come up and say, okay, I took this decision because this is according to this rule. And
and
I think
who
fans
cares
would be
about the
happy with.
rules? Yeah, and nobody's like, how can you look at a line of text and say, oh, I understand this rule? I mean, text can be so deceiving, right? I mean, I can't even tell you like how many times I didn't get dumped, but some of my potential relationships did not manifest into what they meant because of WhatsApp, because of text. Because it's so hard to interpret them. And
Yeah, right, right.
just have someone like speak about it. I mean, you don't have to have a whole 30-minute segment on it, but at least say that this is the rule, and based on the rule, this is what we have done. And then just cut off. You don't even have to wait for
And
Jamie
and the fan
Carragher to ask a
and the
question.
fans Yeah, and the fans would accept that because okay, you thought this, and yeah, you could have humans are prone to make errors. If you made an error, we understand because you thought at that time this is what went to your mind, and according to
Oh yeah,
this rule,
absolutely. Yeah,
so the fans
it's
would accept
it's
that.
it's yeah. I think we are at a stage where we don't know what it is, and neither the creators. So it's going to take some time. It's going to take some trial and error to get it right, if they get it right soon enough. Otherwise, these things are going to happen, and it's going to affect a lot of clubs, a lot of players, and of course a lot of results of these leagues and these important matches. Because like you said, I agree with you on that as well. When a VAR decision goes on in the Champions League, the way it is handled or resolved is very different from the Premier League.
Right.
And I think that is based on the people who are taking those decisions. There has to be, the rule cannot be different in Champions League and
Yeah,
Premier League. There has to be the people who are looking at it and taking a call based on their perceptions, which means the rules are still not at that level that where it is factual. It's not boolean, it's not 1 or 0. There's always this gray line where whoever is reading the rule and trying to interpret, the they have the opportunity to base it according to what they think is right, right?
right.
So it's almost like if you steal a car, there can be a rule. If you steal a car, if you're caught stealing a car, you go to jail, otherwise you walk free. It's not as simple as that.
Right.
Maybe you were stealing your own car. Now why were you doing that? Maybe you're mental or something. I don't know. So that's the
Yeah,
gray matter.
I
And I
I get
think
your point, and this is where the Premier League needs to be questioned and how they employ these referees who make these rules. Because even in the World Cup, we didn't have many complaints. We thoroughly enjoyed this World Cup. I think we it was fun. It was whatever it was. I didn't think we had much questions about the decisions, and
I didn't like the World Cup, man. It was a drag.
it was a good like it had a lot of surprising results and everything it had, and we it's like particularly sticking to decision making by the refs, we didn't have any complaints. I don't
Yeah, but
think there were.
that's because of the World Cup, right? I mean, who are you going to be mad on? Like when Messi, at the end of the day, wins the World Cup wearing that jersey. I mean, it's almost like the end of it's the last page of a really
No,
good book that you've
I'm
been
not
reading
talking
for
about
many
that
years.
just that particular game, but I'm just talking about even the games before, even a random game like suppose say South Korea, Japan, or something. I'm just saying like we didn't have questions, but here every day, every game, we're like having questions. Like even 10 games this weekend, 6 games are like dicey. Some decision was dicey in in those 6 games. So
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like when you're comparing this to the World Cup, it's a bit different because this tournament it just happens once every 4 years, and it was like one of those seasons, one of those situations where it was having happening while the league was going on, so they took a break and they had it in December, which was also very unique. And again with Ronaldo and Messi playing the last World Cups, hopefully at least for Messi, uh, it was people really don't care about bad decisions at the end of the day because it's a 1 month event, whereas
but even
when
it,
you look at the
but
Premier League, there's so much reference, there's so much happening, like every single month, every single week, game week, right? That people are not just tuning and watching Manchester United or Liverpool for Salah or Rashford. They're also looking to see, oh shit, we have Mike Dean. I don't want to like keep on talking about Mike Dean. People might think I hate Mike Dean.
I get your
Maybe
point.
somebody else. Yeah, so they might just tune in to say, oh, I don't like the ref. I hope it was somebody else. And the moment somebody gets a red card, I hate that ref. That ref is a
Yeah.
dickhead or something. So that's what I'm trying to say. That it's more about that continuity of this thing happening every year, every week. Whereas the World Cup is, I mean, sometimes
It's
I,
not
I
what
don't
I
know.
meant by the World Cup was just not the World Cup, like you said, the UEFA Champions League, or just say the
Yeah,
Bundesliga, La Liga. We don't have so many questions. Like we don't see on the news that oh this decision was wrong today. Or we rarely see such things. I think Bundesliga handles it. We are the best among all of the leagues, and so why can't we match that? And I think this is where the Premier League referees are just too proud of themselves. And oh, I you did it that way. You might be right, but this is my way, and I know I'm wrong, but this is my way. This is how it goes, and this is
that should
where I think
yeah, that shouldn't be there because again, like a rule is a rule, right? Whether you're playing in the German league or the English league, it is supposed to have the same interpretation. And if it doesn't have the same interpretation, I mean, of course, you can question the rule, saying that maybe the rule needs to be updated so that it makes sense. But it's also just raises a huge question that it's not the rule, maybe it's the people who are looking at the rule and interpreting whatever they think is right, and maybe that needs improvement. That needs improving.
no, but
And
Premier League has some separate rules from the Bundesliga and the Champions League. They have some where
really,
VAR
like
can
what?
intervene. I had read like this 100% or like obvious error rule. This is not there in the other leagues. And this is such a
Really?
dicey thing. Yeah, this is not there in that UEFA and Bundesliga,
That's
like the
not
referee.
fair. So if a
It's
new
not
player
that.
comes in the Premier League, there needs to be this whole week of
Yeah,
like
they do have they have like these orientation
onboarding,
sessions.
right?
Yeah, before even before the season starts, I think the all the players get an orientation classes from the referees on what the new changes and everything.
Wow,
So
it seems like your first day in college where you're just interested to see like who you're hanging out with rather than the teachers or the professors. It's so weird, man. It
yeah,
is
so Premier League
so
that
weird.
has these, and so this is like the Premier League and the English refs trying to make
I had
themselves
no idea
unique.
about this. Mm-hmm. I didn't know the rules were different. This is new to
Yeah,
me.
just some rules are different. Like so,
Oh, it's insane.
I
What
think
are
the
they trying to
offside.
achieve? Like, what they're just trying to say it's a Premier League, so it has an
Yeah,
extra
yeah,
rule or it has a
yeah,
better
yeah.
rule
So it's
than.
unique. Yeah, it's a unique thing. Even if I know I'm wrong, but it's my way. It's unique.
How is that even allowed? You can just make like any rule up then in that case, just to change the game or just make it look like real. There has to be like one set of it's like the Ten Commandments, right? The Ten Commandments are the Ten Commandments. Those are set in
Yeah,
stone.
But this 100% like clear and obvious thing only exists in the Premier League. This I'm sure of. So they
Yes.
won't overturn the decision unless the ref is 100% clear and obvious, and no one knows what is 100%.
Yeah. Very strange. Very strange. Yeah, this is strange times to be a football fan. I mean, not necessarily Liverpool or Manchester United, but more like a fan of the sport. So much
Right.
is changing so rapidly that yeah, we can't even make heads or tails about what's going on. And I think it's based
Yeah,
on who is officiating. We'll get to know how it goes.
I think that's where like the old days were better, it seemed for us. Like unless you're a City fan right now who is winning everything, I think for every other club, you like what is going on? You're confused and you're
Or
like,
Newcastle fan. I think Newcastle fans are also yeah,
yeah, they are
they're on
probably
the high.
enjoying. But
Yeah.
you you think you're like falling out of love for the sport, and like the sport isn't same anymore. That's what I feel. I don't know about you. It doesn't feel
Yep,
the same
it's
anymore.
changing. It's changing. We will never see people like Patrick Vieira or Roy Keane ever because if they exist, they wouldn't exist in this kind of a
Yeah,
format.
yeah,
They'll probably get red cards every 3 games because the next two they're going to be facing a ban. So you know, they don't
yeah,
exist. And if they don't exist, why do we refer them and point fingers at Bruno Fernandes and say, "Hey, that's not a good captain. I support Roy Keane. I've grown up
yeah.
watching
Right,
Roy Keane." Roy Keane doesn't exist in that environment, so you
right,
have
right.
to be okay with a whiny, whingy version of Roy Keane in Bruno. That's who he is. He cannot kick the referee because if he does, his career is done. Roy Keane, maybe even if he didn't, yeah, I'm pretty sure he thought about it. And whether he admits it or not, that's Roy Keane. And things have changed, and I guess all we can do is get used to it.
Yeah, that's how it is. So I guess, do you have any? I don't think we have any more topics to cover today, do
No,
we?
that's a wrap. I think a
Yeah,
fantastic
would have
win
fun. I think we had
by
a great discussion on the referees, I
yeah.
think, today.
Yeah, I wish we had more folks on this because I'm sure it's not just you and me.
Hmm.
Everybody is confused about whatever is going on with the FA and
And
officiating
you
in
would
the
be
Champions.
surprised, like I think like many of us and among our friends would have different opinions, and we won't, and because everyone is confused.
Yeah, I mean, I still think that whether you're confused or not, there needs to be some transparency between you know the people watching, the people you're making money out of every
Hmm.
single day, every single second, to the people who are generating the content in terms of the rules and
Yeah,
regulations and what
yeah, yeah.
dictates them. I think that is completely missing right now, where the fans are on the dark, they are blindsided, they don't know what's right or wrong, and they are obviously they're driven by their mental model, which is I know what a red card is, I know what a foul is, I know what a
Hmm.
yellow card is. It's not been revised to the new set of rules, which they are modifying every day. So that needs changing, and until and unless that happens, I don't think we are going to arrive to a sustainable model where we are actually
Yeah,
improving the game.
yeah.
People are going to be pissed either way.
Right, right. 100% right.
Cool.
Yeah,
So thank you so much for turning up. I know
yeah.
tonight
Of
is going to be a
course.
good night. Have a beer for me.
Actually,
It's
late
afternoon
already.
here. Oh yeah, man, it's never too late unless you have an early day. So which I can understand. It's
Yeah.
Monday morning as well. But thank you so much for coming and
Thanks, man.
yeah,
Thanks.
like our
I
videos,
enjoyed this.
subscribe,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
and
enjoyed our discussion today. So yeah,
mhm,
yeah. Like, subscribe. Whatever Ronajai does, he's not here.
yeah, it's not
He's
here for
probably in
obvious
hiding.
reasons. Would you like to say something to Ronochai, like as a small message for our next show, like maybe a line or something?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Like this is like Liverpool is football heritage, and you should not compare Newcastle to Liverpool. I would say that.
Fair enough. Okay, so thank you so much, and yeah, keep watching our content, and we'll see you in the next one. See ya.
Thank you for watching that video. We are a community of passionate football fans, and we post weekly videos on transfer news, match reactions, tactical analysis, and sometimes just gossip on the most exciting sport in the world. If that's what you like to hear, then hit that subscribe button and join the conversation with us.